Have you ever wondered who first came up with the idea of a flight attendant? Well, take a trip back with me to the 1920s. When commercial aviation first started, flying was a pretty rough and scary experience. There were no smiling faces to greet you at the door. Instead, you might have had a co-pilot tossing you a box lunch, or maybe a teenage boy called a courier who helped with luggage. The whole thing felt more like a bumpy bus ride in the sky than the luxury experience airlines wanted to sell. The public was terrified of flying, and airlines desperately needed a way to make it seem safer and more glamorous. That's when a woman named Ellen Church stepped in and changed air travel forever. Ellen Church was a true trailblazer. She was a registered nurse and a licensed pilot, but back in 1930, the idea of a female pilot flying a commercial plane was just unheard of. So, she approached Steve Stimson, an executive at Boeing Air Transport, which later became United Airlines. She pitched him a brilliant, revolutionary idea. What if they hired registered nurses to work in the cabin during flights? Her logic was simple but powerful. Having a medical professional on board would make passengers feel immensely calmer. It would ease their fears about air sickness and the perceived dangers of flying. Stimson was intrigued. He agreed to a 3-month trial run to see if her idea had wings. So, on May 15th, 1930, history was made. The very first group of 8 stewardesses, known as the Original 8, took to the skies. But getting this job wasn't easy. The requirements were incredibly strict, and honestly, pretty discriminatory. By today's standards, you had to be a registered nurse, single, under 25 years old, and weigh less than 115 pounds. And their job was way more than just serving drinks and snacks. These sky girls, as the public affectionately called them, were true workhorses. Their duties included hauling heavy luggage, physically screwing down loose seats with a wrench, swatting flies in the unpressurized cabin, and sometimes even helping to push the entire aircraft into the hangar after a flight. For all this backbreaking work, they were paid $125 a month. The experiment was an unbelievable success. Passengers loved the sense of security and service that the stewardesses provided. Other airlines quickly copied the model, and soon, the Sky Girl became an icon of the golden age of air travel. Her image was everywhere, symbolizing glamour, adventure, and safety. This new role completely revolutionized the passenger experience and set a new standard for the entire industry. However, the glamour came with some serious downsides. For decades, the profession was governed by strict and unfair rules. Stewardesses were forced to retire, often as young as 32. If they got married, they were fired. They were subjected to regular weigh-ins and girdle checks to ensure they maintained a specific appearance. It was a career with a very short, very controlled shelf life. It was on until the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 70s that things really started to change. Courageous women fought back against these discriminatory practices in court, and they won. The marriage bans were lifted, the mandatory retirement ages were abolished, and the focus shifted from appearance to professionalism and safety. The title itself evolved from stewardess to the gender-neutral flight attendant to reflect that this critical role was open to everyone, regardless of gender. Today, flight attendants are highly trained safety professionals. They are the first responders in the sky, equipped to handle everything from medical emergencies to security threats. It's a world away from swatting flies and pushing planes. But it all started with the pioneering vision of Ellen Church and her Original 8. They didn't just create a job. They created an entire profession that keeps millions of us safe in the skies every single day. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this piece of history as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. See you in the next video.